So for phase 2, we actually decided to attack the derb by the, you guys know where the derb is, right? The residence halls and all. So,
yeah.
So what we decided was we will do everything illegal over there. We went through the back door, we didn't pay for our food or anything. And,
but most of us didn't eat anything, so
yeah, but we went there illegally. So first of all, what we decided was we were going to select a decent location to set up a hidden camera. Then members from our group actually went to different tables with people from different ethnic groups and see as to how they would respond to us being there. And I think we can just get everyone go through it.
Yeah.
As to what actually happened shortly. So that was the first one. This was a table filled with African Americans, and most of them were from outside Kansas. So they were pretty friendly. Like when I started talking to them, they were responding and everything. Like a couple of girls left in the middle, but it was okay because they were very polite. They asked me to excuse themselves, and so it was. I think it was good. This thing was good. We will actually see it right now happening. I was a little bit confused, and I started looking towards them, like, what should I do? But because the trays were there, I was like, okay, they're gonna come back, like right now. No, I think we can just skip my segment.
yeah. Alright, so I went next, you know, sitting down uninvited at already occupied tables. Unfortunately, with my segment, we had a bit of a trip up. Right before this segment began, Erica had set up the camera and pointed it at the correct table. And at that moment, one of the girls from the table got up to get some sandwich or some cereal from right next to our table and saw the camera pointed right at her table. So the second I sat down, well, the funny thing was I got a funny reaction at first. I said, is this chair being used? And they said no. And so then I sat down. And I definitely did get a funny look from the girl sitting to my left. But I quickly found out the first question asked me, are you being filmed right now? And I wasn't going to lie. I wasn't going to say, no, what are you talking about? Yeah, you're being filmed. And then I found out it was a table full of RAs. So I had sat down at the table of RAs, and they were like, oh, are you like doing a class project? Yeah. So and they, you know, we talked for a little bit about crazy class projects we've done, and I was like, well, thanks anyway for letting me sit with you guys. I'm going to go back and report to my group now. And they're like, good luck. Try not to bug anybody too much.
Next was mine, and I sit down at a table full of international students. That was a very interesting reaction. They had no idea what to think. They were awful shy at first. They had, one of the kids had their stuff sitting in an empty seat, like their tray and stuff. I was like, is the seat taken? They're like, no. So they move it, and then I sit down and was like, so how are you guys doing today? They're like, pretty good. It's like, you guys taking class up here, or what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, we're taking class. And they're like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I have one class and I work. I'm like, oh yeah, what do you work? Where do you work? I was like, I work at a bar. And they're like, what do you do there? I said, I'm a doorman. They're like, a doorman? What's that? They've never heard of that before. And I was like, I'm a bouncer. And they're like, bouncer? They had no idea what I was talking about. So they're like, what do you do? I was like, I'm the guy that checks IDs, make sure people are legal to go in. I'm like, oh, okay. It was just a great reaction when I told them that I was explaining. And they were all surprised.
As I'm sitting down here, the lady that I sit right to
So I just started opening my book, looking through it, and drinking some Coke because I didn't know what to do. And literally the whole entire time I'm sitting there, like, there's nothing, like, they are not, like, associating themselves with me at all. And Kelsey comes and rescues me and says that she sees that I'm here. So I even, like, have an escape route.
I was like, oh, hey, how are you doing? I haven't seen you since, I think I said, I haven't seen you since class last semester. You want to come sit with us? And, yeah, so I kind of rescued her.
As you've seen in phase 2, we got a lot of unexpected reactions, good and bad. We definitely sit at tables where people were like, all right, what are you doing here? You need to leave. And we said, but overall, for the most part, people were very accepting of us just sitting down. And it was overall very successful.
All right, so what does all of this tell us about normative behavior? I essentially kind of have like 2 main points that I pulled from both of our experiments that we did. One of them is that normative behavior is flexible based on the context of the situation, and that people are willing to, in many instances, when new stimulus is brought into an environment, people are willing to abandon norms at certain times. For instance, in the bar hopping experiment, norms were flexible in this context because, while it may not be acceptable for us to go bar hopping like that in the middle of Della Voce, we were in Aggieville where, the environment is more relaxed, people are more friendly, inhibitions are maybe a little bit lowered. Plus, we were like even encouraging people even to join in with us. And so it's a different environment, and therefore people are more willing to be flexible with their norms and everything. And then when we were table invading, so to speak, it kind of showed us that if kind of something shows up that violates a norm that you kind of already hold to, such as when a table is already occupied, you shouldn't sit at it unless you know the people sitting in personally. People are more likely to, people can choose to either adjust their norms, kind of abandon their norms to fit the new situation, or they can choose to hold firm to their norms regardless. So some people decided, well, you know what, I'm in a college cafeteria, new faces aren't that weird here, even though I know that usually people shouldn't sit down at a table if it's already occupied, I'm going to be friendly to this person. I'm going to, even though that norm is there, it's fine, I'm going to be friendly, I'm going to be polite, and lots of the tables were like that. Others, were either really shy, holding really firm to that norm, you're an outsider, what are you doing here? And some, especially in Joni's case, held so firmly to the idea to the point as, excluding the person completely who was violating that norm. So,
what we would do differently, our equipment wasn't the greatest, especially when we were doing the table invasions. It would have been great to have some kind of Zoom on the camera we were using, but because there wasn't that, you couldn't be in close, tight, underneath space to see exactly how they were reacting. And then also on the table invasions, maybe we could have done a script before, because we kind of just went, fly by your seat when you got up to go invade these tables. Nobody had a for sure what they were going to say type situation. On the bar hopping, there's not really anything that we could have done differently. It went perfect, and yeah, that's just how that turned out.
I just want to add to the equipment, the camera was very old, and it was the 3-minute video was for more than a gigabyte, so it was really difficult to actually edit the stuff and cut through it, so it was really, really long. Alright, Jan,
Thank you.
I think we are on our next mission now. Let's go.
Six.